Hey, what's going on, everybody? If you've ever wanted to know how to lose weight and most importantly, make it sustainable, today's video is for you. I am joined with Martin Dasco. He runs Martin Feast on Instagram, and he is an incredible influencer. I've been following him. I've been intermittent fasting for a year now. I found him on Instagram when I just got started, but I'm really excited to have him on today. And we're going to talk about how you can use intermittent fasting to live a sustainable, healthy lifestyle and lose weight, not just for the short term, for long term. But hey, Martin, thanks very much for joining me. I'm very excited to have you on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I didn't realize you just started a year ago. You've got some amazing results, and I'm secretly jealous. The beginning's always the best when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, what you call it? I think I started a month into coronavirus last year, uh,
Oh, wow.
so I was at like 240 pounds for a few years, but then COVID hit, and man, the stress of that, I put on an additional like 15, 20 pounds. And at 265 last year, I was like, that's enough for me. So, yep. So I'm about at 13 months now, but I know what you're talking about. These last few months have been a little slower.
But how much have you lost in
About
this time?
60 pounds.
60 pounds. Wow. So you get that includes the ones you gained, right?
Yep.
That's awesome. That's amazing that you started during the coronavirus because I found that ruined a lot of people's progress. A lot of people message me and they're like, "Oh, I'm not fasting anymore because I'm bored and I'm eating all day." And I found that like a lot of people went the other direction. So I'm very happy when I meet people that came to the good side, not the dark side during the whole pandemic.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I fell into, again, that first month and a half of COVID, everything shut down. Like the stress eating started, but that's when, I, man, I hadn't stepped on the scale in a minute, but I remember the day I stepped on the scale, I was like, okay, I need to see how much I've gained. And it was 265, and I was like, all right, I need to get legit.
It's
So.
like checking your credit card after a wild weekend. You're like, oh, I know it was bad, but I don't want to know how bad it was, but I do have to know because I eventually have to deal with this, right?
Exactly. And that's where kind of one of the things that I want to talk about, and I'm really excited to talk to you about, was, everything that you're sharing online is kind of what I have come to learn this time around, because I'm no stranger to weight loss. But I think, like a lot of people, my weight has gone up and down so many times. It's like you get fed up and you lose it. But the thing that I was always focused on was focusing on losing the weight and not building sustainable habits. That's one of the things I love about what you're doing. Want to talk to you about today is, this idea of, hey, everyone wants the weight to go down, but if you legitimately focus on building habits for the long term, not only is it going to come off, but it's going to stay off. And that's kind of the thing. I lost 60 pounds at probably the 9-month mark. So I have kept the weight off for about 4 months now, which for me is, I mean, that's huge. I've never done that before.
That's
So.
the toughest part. That's why most diets are very unrealistic. And in the past, I'm speaking from experience, I've tried everything. I started working out in 2004, I want to say. I'm 33 now. So back in high school, it was like there's nowhere to go for information, right? You would hope that like some guy at the gym would give you some information, but he didn't know anything. And, we were turning to like these magazines, and there's all these unrealistic plans, and like every month there's a new muscle building workout, a new diet, a new way to eat, and it was very confusing, So you're told you have to eat a lot, get big, then you get big, but you just get fat for a lot of people. Unless when you're 16, yeah, you can put on some muscle and be huge. When you're 22, it gets tougher. But when you're 30 and you're just eating and lifting, you can get fat real easily. And then over time, I've tested every diet out and I read everything, and they all do work. Like everything works. You can get rich quick from the stock market by buying penny stocks, but you can also lose everything, right? So we tend to look at the success stories because of the survivorship bias, and we talk about this one person lost all his weight with his diet, which is, yeah, that's cool, but did they keep it off? Was it realistic? And could you do that? And I would obviously I would get, like you said, yeah, I would get the results. I'd be happy, but then I'd be like, well, like it's not sustainable, like I got a message the other day from someone, and they said, how do you do carbs? I'm like, I don't know, I eat them. What do you mean, how do I do carbs? And then he goes, well, the second, because he does like keto and different diets. He goes, the
Yep.
second, like I feel like I need a carb, I lose control and I go back to where I started, and that's kind of defeats the whole purpose. What's the point of going on this long journey and to end up back where you started, or even worse, to gain all the way back and then some?
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, just hearing you say that is like, Man, that was me. And that's I think one of the things that clicked for me early on in my intermittent fasting journey was probably at about the 6 week mark. I did 6 weeks of no eating pretty healthy, not going off to plan too much. But I know in the past, anytime I lost weight, it's like the minute that I went off plan, it's that mindset of I have failed, I'm done.
Yeah,
I remember
it's
I was,
over.
yeah. So sitting in the car outside of a Whataburger, and I was like, man, I really want Whataburger. But I told myself, you know what? I'm going to have the Whataburger and I'm going to enjoy it and I'm not going to let it throw me off. I'm going to learn how to eat like this sometimes, but still be able to maintain progress, which is why, I think for 6 months now, I've been filming everything that I eat. So if you go back
Yeah.
on the YouTube channel, you can see everything I've eaten over the last 6 months. And a lot of times people see some of the stuff that I eat, um, and they're like, how do you eat that? But I don't believe in no cheat days because you're setting yourself up for failure in the long run.
Yeah, so the one thing that was very tough to like kind of grasp for me was that a diet isn't something you have to start and stop. It's not on or off. And obviously, like I have friends who are professional fighters or athletes, and people like that. Yes, they have to go through a training camp, like Olympic athletes. Like people go through training camps, they go on a strict diet. Most of us are just regular people who are just trying to get into shape. Like you don't have to start and stop. Because the problem with that is, yeah, sure, like there's nothing wrong with sprinting to the finish line, but you also don't want to like screw yourself over. So for me, the toughest thing to accept was that I can eat whatever I want, not like all the time. It's not like once I stop, it's over. And once I start, my life is misery. Because like back like in the early 2000s, like when you were on a diet, like people would joke around. I mean, that would mean you'd be miserable, for like
Yeah.
4 months, 5 months, and you'd be a miserable person. Which obviously you can do that if you really have to, but most of us don't have to. Like you have a job, you have a social life. Like imagine going to work and you're like, no, like you have no energy because you're not eating carbs, or you have to eat every 2 hours. Your boss will be like, "What's wrong with you? We don't pay to eat every 2 hours." And then people would stop like these diets and this way of eating, and then they would just fall off track. And it's like it's not all or nothing. You can have a treat, and which is what I have to remind myself almost every day. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna eat well most of the time, like 90%, 80%, whatever. Sometimes 70%. The calories will come from real food. Salmon, tuna. I'm just giving like veggies, protein,
Yeah.
whatever you want to eat. There's nothing wrong with having a treat, especially if that gets you through it. If you feel good. Because when you feel restricted, it's like when you're a kid and your parents tell you that you can't play with a certain toy. That's the one toy you're gonna want to play with the most, right? So it's like if someone tells you you can't eat ice cream, all you're gonna think about is how you can eat ice cream. And I don't want people to think about what they can't do. I want them to think about what they can do. So you can have whatever, you can have anything you want. You just can't have everything that you want. And back to your point on the pictures and the videos, I actually call this the paparazzi plan. So what I believe in doing isn't take when you're first getting started. It is fun to take pictures of your meals so you can track your progress. So instead, because tracking calories can be tedious and boring for most. But what I'll do is I'll take pictures of my meals for two reasons. If I'm losing weight and I'm getting to my best shape, I'll look back. I'm like, damn, I got to eat pizza and ice cream. If I don't lose enough weight, I'm like, well, wait a minute, maybe it's because I didn't eat enough real food and I had too much pizza and ice cream, right?
No, that's good. I like that. So talk to me a little bit about, so how long have you been doing intermittent fasting? Because I know, again, I think, so I'm 34 this year. I turned 35 in September.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we're
Yeah.
almost very similar, which I think is part of the reason that, I've been drawn to your stuff a lot, is I can feel that kindred spirit. But talk to me a little bit about how long you've been doing intermittent fasting and when did it click for you as like, oh, you know what, this is realistic, this is sustainable.
So I messed up when I first started this stuff because I made the typical mistakes, like eating too much crap or messing up with the window. So I first read about this stuff. It was 2012. I tried the slow carb diet from Tim Ferriss, where like you just eat the same, like you eat like beans and chicken and rice, or no rice, yeah, no rice. You eat the same food all over and over again, and then you have like one cheat day a week. So I tried doing that, and it worked. But then obviously I fell off, and then it didn't work. It works until it doesn't work, and then
Yeah.
nothing works. So then I read about Martin Burkhan. He had lean gains, and he talked about like skipping breakfast. And like it's so weird when you first hear about skipping breakfast that you just can't accept this new paradigm. You can't accept this new world.
Yeah, no, I'm going to go catabolic. I'm going to lose all of my muscle. My metabolism is going to stop.
like I couldn't fathom it. But it was like a car crash where you see something, you're like, I have to look, but I know I shouldn't. You're like, skipping breakfast. You're like, that makes zero sense. Because, like I said, in the early 2000s, every diet book, everybody said the same thing. Whatever diet you follow, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You have to eat this for breakfast. So I would force myself, like, out on the slow carb diet, I would force myself to have 50 grams of protein within 30 minutes of waking up. Or was it 30? It was like a lot of protein, which is fine, but like I would force myself, and I wasn't even like that hungry, but I would just force myself to eat every few hours. I'd be late to school. I'd be late to work because I was forcing myself to stop for breakfast. So I saw this and I was like, more of a productivity thing. I'm like, wait a minute, I could skip breakfast and I like to sleep in and I like to just start my day. But then I would always force myself to not start my day because I had to eat. So I'm like, but I just couldn't accept it for so long. I read all this stuff. It was 2012. I bought Eat, Stop, Eat by Brad Pylan. It's about 24-hour fast. And that was even worse. I'm like, how could you not eat for 24 hours? These people are weird, right? I was like, I can totally see why someone thinks that we're weird when they find this world out. So I just couldn't accept it. I'm like, none of this makes sense. But then finally, I read up on lean gains and eating for 8 hours and 16, not eating for 16. And then once you do the math, you're like, well, I'm sleeping for 8 hours, not 16. I'm sleeping for 8 hours. You factor in an hour or two before bed. You gotta wind down. You shouldn't eat in bed. It's not good. And you figured in the morning you can kill some time. You wake up, whatever, do something. I'm like, it's not that bad. So I tried doing it. I would get results, but then I would do it wrong. So like I would mess it up. I just thought that like it was just about skipping breakfast. I would skip breakfast and then eat like hell for the whole day. Like I would not eat at 8, but then I would eat from like 12 to 12. So I was eating for 12 hours like a pig. And then I wasn't getting results. And then I met this guy at the gym and he was really lean. So I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, intermittent fasting. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, everyone's doing this. I'm like, how come it's not working for me? I'm like, this is stupid. It doesn't work. Then he goes, are you really doing it? And I'm like, yeah, I swear I'm doing it. And then obviously then I would try to take pictures of my food. I would try to track what I'm doing for a little bit. And I realized I wasn't actually doing it. I was talking about doing it, but I was just skipping breakfast and then eating like hell for 12 hours. So then finally in 2016, this is almost 4 years later. So that's a lot of wasted time that I don't want your audience to waste. Finally, I was like, okay, I'm going to do it properly. I'm just going to do what I say I've been doing. Because we all know what we should be doing. We're just not doing it. We all know we should be budgeting. We all know we should be, eating better. We just don't do it. Because we have these unrealistic plans. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to make a realistic plan. I'm going to eat from 12 to 8. Like that is so realistic,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna wake up and I sleep in anyways. I'm gonna wake up at 9:10, have a coffee, so I'm not missing out on anything. By the time I finish my coffee, it's already 12 almost. At the time I was working evenings, so it was easy. And then I'm just gonna eat whatever I want for 8 hours, like just whatever. So I'm like, okay, instead of eating whatever I want for 12 hours, I'll restrict it to 8. And then within I started this around like March, April, and I had like transformation photos. By June, I'm like, what the hell? I'm in shape. like I was doing pro wrestling at the time, and I was doing like a lot of jiu-jitsu. And people are like, "Oh, what are you on? What are you taking?" I'm like, "Oh, it's actually working." Because it's funny when you're at your biggest, when you're lifting weights and trying to get bulky, you end up looking kind of chubby and fat.
Yep.
When you're lifting weights and losing weight, you look like you're huge. You look like you're jacked, but you're really just getting leaner. And your muscles are showing better. So then I realized, wow, this actually works. So then I just over time I try to refine it to get to the next level. It's progress over perfection, right? So
absolutely.
So I would just refine things. I was like, okay, I'm getting leaner because the goalposts always be changing, right? So I was also only 28, 29 at the time, whatever it was. And like I was leaner, but then I would change up things. Like I'd be like, okay, now I want to get bigger. So I'm just going to eat more calories in this 8 hours. And then at one point I was like, you know what, just for productivity reasons, I'm going to do one meal a day because I love to eat. That's the biggest misconception about fasting. People think that we're not eating, but I love food. I love to feast. So I was like, what if I just have a big feast every evening? So then eventually I just cut the hours down. I started having one big feast, and it made my life easier. So now, like I said, the goalpost is always changing. Now I'm 33, and there's lockdown. So I learned the hard way that I was able to eat a lot too because I was also training harder. During lockdowns, you can't train as hard. So I've already had 2 lockdown transformations, like mini transformations. So yeah, so now I'm at the 1 meal a day just for simplicity and because I love food.
And where are you at right now? Actually, I mean, your Instagram, you got wherever you're at is killer. Where are you at?
Oh, I'm not there anymore. So this is more like a mental health thing. I kind of got fed up with this lockdowns, and I figured like health and happiness should be our number one priorities. We chase the wrong rabbits in society, I find. So they say when you chase two rabbits, you don't catch any rabbits. So
Yeah.
I was just doing a lot of wasting time, and I was getting really frustrated. So I just kind of one day I got fed up and booked a one-way ticket to Mexico, and I took off. I rented out my place, and I decided to go all in on myself, on my health and my happiness. I guess it kind of sounds corny, so I took off for the winter, and because Canada is really miserable in the winter too, and lockdown. So I just wanted to train and be happy. So I went to Mexico and lived life for 3 to 4 months, and now I'm back here in Toronto. And today's the first warm day, so hopefully summer's here.
Oh, good stuff. Well, I mean, it looked incredible. It's yeah, that idea of, try to do everything and end up doing nothing is so important. That's where, one of the things that I talk about with anyone that is starting is, hey, don't worry about changing your diet. Don't worry about counting calories, getting crazy exercise. Like, just start with the fasting. And
Yeah,
once the fasting is a habit, we'll now try to build another habit. But I feel like, and again, I say it from a place of experience, like I'm talking to myself back in, but you hear about you want to live a healthy lifestyle. So you want to do everything. I want to eat healthy. I want to stock my groceries. I want
yeah.
to exercise perfectly,
Cook
do
and
all this stuff.
wake up at 4 in the morning and meditate. Express gratitude.
Oh, exactly. Right. The perfect morning routine. Like,
Yeah.
you try to do all that stuff. You end up doing none of it.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue is when it comes to this kind of stuff. Is that everyone knows like it's common sense to lose weight. You just have to eat less than you burn or whatever. So you consume less and burn more, whatever. Cut your
Yeah.
calories. But the problem is, how do you do that? That's the $1 million question. How do you make it happen? So this is a big issue because most information is not enough to make a behavioral change. We know that information, we just can't make it happen. So I recommend the practicality of fasting because you're limiting your eating window to restrict your calories. I know it sounds like common sense, but it is. At its core, you're just limiting the amount of time you have to eat. So if you have a 4 hour eating window, it's really tough to screw up. 8 hour window is also tough to screw up. So chances are, at some point, you're going to do some activities throughout the day. Chances are, you're going to eat better since you waited so long to eat. And odds are, over time, you're getting into a calorie deficit, and then you're going to lose weight, and then the weight will come off, and this whole time you won't even notice that you're on a diet, and hopefully you get to where you want to be. Like you said, you lost 60 pounds, which is amazing.
Yeah. That's awesome. What about talk to me a little bit. So you started with 12-12, then you went to 16-8. You did OMAD. What is your and obviously it's going to change a little bit because the goalpost is always changing, but talk to me kind of last few months. What's your IF schedule been like? What's kind of your go-to? What's a few weeks look like for you? Are you changing it up every day? Are you kind of sticking it? What are you looking like right now?
Yeah, so I find that structure equals freedom. So I used to do the typical stuff. I'd look at the clock. You're like, oh, is it 12? It's 11:59. I can't eat yet. I would look at the clock and I would time in. And I would, like, people use these fancy apps, which are cool. Whatever it takes for you to build a healthier relationship with your eating is good. But for me, I'm at the point now where I find it. I just live my life. I wake up. I know I repeat myself a lot, but it's about getting the message across.
Yeah.
So I'll wake up. I drink a coffee. Or I drink water. I drink coffee. I hydrate. Pink Himalayan salts. I work. I work from home, luckily, so I'm on the keyboard. I'm typing away, and then around noon, 1, I go for a little exercise. And for me, it varies, but I do like one feast a day or one extended window a day. So it could be 3 o'clock that I start eating. It could be 4 o'clock. I'm at the point now where I eat when my work day is done. So I do my work day, and then it's time to feast. And I'll have a big feast. Obviously, I start with a snack, which I always warn people: start with a snack first, then ease into your feast. I'll have a big feast, and this could be, people like mess me like, oh, that's not one meal a day. You ate 6 hours ago. I'm like, yeah. Well, I'm at the point now where I know my body. I know that but today I'll probably start eating realistically around 4 or 5. I'll have a big feast for a couple hours, and I'll be done, and then move on with my day. Then I have a wind down routine. My wind down routine in the summers is I usually go for a bike ride. I like to read by the lake. I like to do some reading, do some Spanish lessons. Then I brush my teeth, and that's when I know, no more food, and I will go to sleep, and I can sleep much better when I don't have food in my system. Yeah, so I just, long story short, which is tough for me, but I have about a 1 to 4 hour eating window. Yesterday was a 2 hour eating window. Today might be longer. Depends. I don't know what's gonna happen today. Right? Today's a new day, but the fasting has given me that structure, which equals freedom. So and it also depends if I do, let's say I'm gonna work out with my brother. If I feel that it was a harder workout, I'll have more carbs that day. If it's a rest day, well then I'm not gonna eat as many carbs. I'll have more protein, more fats. But today, hopefully I train hard. I don't know what's going to happen, but hopefully I train hard, and hopefully I get to eat even harder.
Good stuff. So you like to train fasted. I know
Yeah,
that's a question that comes across a lot. And I'll say first you got to work out whenever it fits into your schedule. Like don't let training fasted prevent you from working out at all. But talk to me a
yeah,
little bit about how many days a week are you working out? Or first,
yeah.
what do your workouts look like? What's your preferred method of exercise?
Well, life in Mexico and life in Toronto, normally I prefer doing jujitsu for my exercise. I do jujitsu three. I feel even weird saying this because there's nothing happening here. Like we're in total lockdown. But in the perfect world, I do jujitsu 3 to 4 days a week, and I lift weights 3 to 4 days a week. And just to simplify my life, I do both at the same time. I batch it. I'll lift weights. I do jujitsu. I'm not doing that now, so I feel like hell. Which is why I went to Mexico because I felt like a slob. But funny story. First, well, 1 week in, I'm telling the girlfriend how I feel like a slob. I feel fat. I'm embarrassed. I'm walking off the beach. Some guy jogs by. Because I haven't had the gym for 9 months. Some guy jogs by. He goes, "How's your diet, buddy?" I'm like, "What? That's rude." It turns out it was a follower. Because he goes, "Because I've been doing your diet, the 1 meal a day." I'm like, "Oh, okay, okay." So in the perfect world, I'm doing jujitsu 3 days a week and lifting weights 3 days a week. In lockdown, it's a bit of a different schedule, but we have to adapt. So what I'm doing is I go for like people get fasted cardio wrong. They think the fasted cardio is like an hour on elliptical, which is what I thought it was at first, and I tried doing that, and I did it like once or twice, and it was boring. Like it was so boring. 1 hour is a lot. An hour of jujitsu, not so much because you're having fun. So people get that wrong. For me, fasted cardio could be anything. I do a thing called the espresso dash, where once I'm done some work, I go for a walk to get coffee, or I get a coffee and I go for a walk. So I try to get 10,000 steps every day. I know that's not exciting, but it's activity and you're burning calories and you're staying active. And I'm listening to podcasts. I'll listen to something interesting. I'll call somebody up. I get my steps in. And then when I want to get a sweat, I do a hill sprint. And for like weightlifting in lockdown, I'm doing whatever I can, to be honest. I got kettlebells. I go to the outdoor gym and do pull-ups, push-ups. Like it's tough, but I'm just forcing myself to use my bells and get any kind of training in. But
No,
for an average person, I recommend just get focused. Your only focus, you get some steps in, go for a walk, and I try to do any body weight training that you can right now. If you have gym access, you better be going because I wish I had gym access.
yeah, I would say I love the kettlebell workouts, and I got a tip for you on making the cardio not as boring. I don't do a lot of cardio, but you said you do jujitsu. Have you seen Warrior, the Tom Hardy movie?
I don't think so.
First, you need to watch Warrior. That movie's
Will do.
incredible.
Will
And
do.
then if you watch, it's MMA, but the last like 47 minutes of the movie is the fight tournament. But man,
Yeah.
it'll get you pumped up. I'll put that walking on the treadmill, watch the last
Dude,
47 minutes of
I was doing
that.
jiu-jitsu in Mexico for the first time after 9 months, right? And it's outside. It's like outdoor concept. I was dying. That was yeah. So I always tell people the best cardio is competition or like learning something. You don't have to do jiu-jitsu. You can do kickboxing, even one of those like kickboxing classes, but just for fun. Obviously, you're not there to fight anybody. You're just hitting the bag. Hell of a workout. Anything like that. It's an amazing workout. You don't even notice your work. Like you don't even notice it's cardio. You're just having fun. You're learning. And then when you're ready to compete, then it gets even better because then you're like, oh my god, someone's trying to inflict damage on me. I got to fight back. So that's
Yeah,
a bit more advanced.
there's no sandbagging it there. You gotta be on it.
No, for sure.
Well, let's talk a little bit about. So I know you were in Mexico for a while. You got some incredible photos while you're there. Again, I love your Instagram. If you're not already following him, make sure you follow him. It's at Martin Feast on Instagram. If you don't mind, I'd like to pull up your Instagram, maybe go through a little photos, ask you a little more detail, cover some of them. But one of the things that I love that you talk about, if you would kind of expand on your idea of um, what is the Friday night test. So talk to us a little bit about the Friday night test.
The Friday night test. So most diets do not survive Friday night because the second that you see a treat or you have a treat, you lose your mind or you feel deprived, and both are bad things, right? So when you're trying to lose weight, the goal is to have a sustainable plan you can follow for the long term. So if your diet either doesn't let you go out on a Friday night or makes you lose your mind when you go out on a Friday night, it's not a good thing. So the beauty of fasting is that I follow the diet where I eat food. I focus on eating real food, and if there's a treat around, I'll have it and I'll indulge. And I never let my diet stop me from going out. Because in the past, when I would follow a diet, it would mean like all social interactions were off the table, right? Like 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 if you got invited anywhere, it was like a hard no, unless you got invited to like some. I couldn't even think of a place. Most places do not pass the Friday night test, and most diets do not. So of course you can follow this diet for a few weeks, but eventually you'll lose your mind and it won't last. So now I'm all for a diet where you get to fast and feast. So if I go out on a Friday night, which right now there's no going out happening here, but if I do go out on a Friday night, I know that day I'm going to fast longer and I'll eat with friends because life's too short to miss out on like hanging out with friends or social interactions because you're on a diet. That just sounds ridiculous. And like when you look back, you're like, wow, I missed out on all that fun because my diet wouldn't let me go out. And this isn't to say you have to pig out. It's just to say that it's okay to enjoy your life a little bit.
No, absolutely. I think that's so big, and finding that thing that again, sustainable. The goal isn't to lose weight fast; it's to lose weight forever. And if what you're doing now, that's where I'm kind of getting into this point where I still have probably about 20 pounds I'd like to lose, but over the next year, at the end of this, I want to have my six pack back that I had when I was in college.
Perfect.
But it's going to take me 2 years to get there. But then I'll maintain a lean physique for the rest of my life. I'd rather take 2 years to get to my goal, but actually keep it than get there in 3 months and only keep it for 2 weeks.
It's like I use this analogy. It's like going on a road trip. Like let's just say, where do you live again?
Jacksonville, Florida.
So it's Jacksonville. So Orlando's a couple hours away.
Yep.
So let's just say you want to go to Orlando. You don't have to know how to get there. You know how to get there, right? Without a GPS. The GPS will help you get there faster. But maybe you want to take the scenic route, right? That's probably too short of a trip. Let's just say you want to go on a cross country trip. Yeah, a GPS will help you, but fasting is like this the scenic route,
Yeah.
You get to enjoy the ride on the way there.
Enjoy it, exactly. And because you enjoy it along the way, you'll stick with it.
Yeah.
So let's I love what you've been doing recently, these little notepads.
Thank you.
Again, if you're not already following him, make sure you go and follow him on Instagram. But I'm just going to pull a few of these up and just kind of get you to expound on them a little bit.
For sure.
And probably the first one that, if I could give something multiple likes, it would be this one right here. But talk to me about what was going through your mind with this one. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory for those you can't see, but it's, Martin's list of foods you're never allowed to eat again.
Then it says, just kidding, life's too short to give up pizza. Stop following restrictive diets. Yeah, because I find this social media, this is also common in the entrepreneurship space. Social media is just filled with condescending lists of like things you can't do or shouldn't be doing or should be doing that you're like, and then you see it, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But really it's just condescending and stupid. Like I'll see these, like it just gets worse and worse and just creates anxiety for people. Like I've seen lists where it's like, food you should never eat, pizza, avocados are bad for you, like nuts are bad for you. It's like, oh my God, I've literally seen every food on this list.
That's a great point. I never thought about that. Like
if you compiled all the lists of food you're not allowed to eat ever again, every food would be on that list. Like, what are you left with, And then everyone's got a different answer. Like someone's going to be like, oh, I don't know. Some people are like, you should never eat nuts because they're bad for you. I've had a guy message me. He's a raw vegan, and he's just like, you should only eat like so and so. I'm like, okay, like I get it. That works for you, man. But I'm sorry, like I like pizza. Like I'm not gonna lie to myself, I'm not gonna eat it every day, but it's okay to have a slice. Yes, the reason I did that was because I was just so sick of these condescending lists. It's like, here's food you can't eat. Here's things you should do. Wake up at 3 a.m, meditate, blah blah blah. It's like, shut up. So I wanted to have some fun, so I made that list. And the beauty about creating content is you don't know what's going to work. So I posted that. I didn't know if it was going to work or not, and it took off. So I guess a lot of people can relate to it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's what I love about your stuff is it's realistic. Here, where's another one that I like?
And being realistic is key. I'm tired of unrealistic like advice.
This one right here.
Oh, why most diets fail.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it says why most diets fail. The first one is no fun is allowed. So so it says no fun is allowed. Pizza is yummy. You get stressed out. The diet is sorry.
No, I was gonna say the stressed out. That's every time in the past for me personally. Like life happens.
Yeah, or the diet is just isn't realistic for your lifestyle. So that's one thing I guess that I haven't really touched upon yet is lifestyle. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I'll read a list of food that you should be eating, and I'm like, well, how can anybody afford this? First of all, like you'd have to like dedicate your entire life to working full time just to eat this kind of food. It's just so unrealistic, and yeah. And then, well, what about your lifestyle? Like, what if you have to work odd hours, and you have to factor in that people have families and kids, and it's not always easy to follow the perfect diet. It's about progress over perfection.
Yeah. Yeah. The idea that a perfect diet exists, I think, is a fallacy. I think you talked about it a little bit before, but the reality is any diet can work for any person. Like if it matches up for you, what works for one person may not work for the other. But the idea that there's going to be one thing that works for everybody is just a fallacy.
And
Which is
here's
that's one of the reasons I love intermittent fasting is no, it's not going to work for everybody, but there's so much flexibility in it that it can work for a lot of people.
and look, Ryan. Honestly, if I was a millionaire celebrity, yeah, I'd love to have my own chef and to eat just the perfect, portions all day, every day. And in the perfect world, yes, we'd all eat perfectly, but life happens. You have a budget, you have time constraints. I mean, you have tastes, you have urges. So I try to put advice into those. I always try to consider those categories as those things when I give advice because it's like, could someone actually do this? Like, I could give you a workout, be like, okay, go do 1,000 push-ups today. Like, all right, it's a great workout. Like, yeah, 1,000 push-ups. That obviously it works, but you don't have the time to do it. You're not going to do it. It's unrealistic, and you're like, okay, screw this guy. What does he think I have time to do 1,000 push-ups?
Yeah, no, and again, man, I love the advice. And just talking about that, talk to me a little bit about when you kind of made the shift. When did you realize that? Because again, what you're putting out there is not what a lot of people are putting out there. I think a lot of people are selling, the perfect thing. When did your kind of passion shift to sharing kind of what you've learned?
Yeah. So the problem with fitness is like everyone's got the perfect photos. Like everyone's photoshopped to the max. Like they're on supplements and so on, and other supplements, which I don't judge. I don't care if people want to do whatever they have to do. If your job is to be a professional model, you do what you got to do. It doesn't impact me. But then regular people see this and they're like, wait a minute, that guy's got a 12 pack and he's so tan or she's so tan, she's the perfect butt, the perfect boobs. Well, there's reasons for people looking a certain way, which is cool. But
Yep.
then the regular people can't be comparing themselves to that, and comparison is the thief of joy. So you're feeling good. You had a great workout. You go on Instagram, and then there's your buddy with a 12 pack. You're like, oh shit, and he's only eating like rice and chicken. And you're like, well, I don't want to eat rice and chicken because it kind of sucks, and because I just don't. So I just realized that regular people didn't have a voice in social media, and I'm not. I have eyes. I'm not the most jacked guy. I'm not the biggest or the strongest or the leanest, but I am also. You also have to realize there's someone that wants to be where you are. Like Ryan, like you lost 60 pounds. A lot of people don't want to lose 60 pounds. There's a lot of people who just want a better lifestyle and still be in shape, like myself. They want to, have their lifestyle improved. And that's a win for them. For one person, a win was just that they didn't bring Tupperware containers to work anymore. Like
Yeah.
they would order lunch. They would have a regular lunch and didn't have to bring 6 containers and eat every 2 hours. So I just felt that regular people needed representation on social media. So I started sharing like realistic advice, and I started questioning like these stupid condescending memes and these this advice that nobody can apply. I'm like, okay, that's great, but I don't like what like people like they share these like The Rock is a great guy, The Rock, and
Yep.
he shares like this advice about how you got to be the hardest worker in the room. Well, like he has his own home gym, like he travels, which is cool. Like he deserves that. Like I have nothing against The Rock, but like people are like, oh, I'm the hardest worker. I'm like The Rock. No, you're not. So like I said, I started this space to help regular people who just maybe they don't have a home gym. Maybe they just want to get into better shape by losing 5 pounds by summertime, because that could be a huge win for most people. Losing 5 pounds, like this is May right now. By summertime, in 6 weeks or 4 weeks to lose 5-10 pounds, that'd be huge. They'd feel more confident, have more energy, go topless on the beach,
Yep.
or just feel happier.
Oh yeah, I left my say for probably a good 3 summers there. I was t-shirt wearing at the
Yeah.
beach. So
T-shirt at the beach was the worst. I don't wish that upon my worst enemies.
Well, good stuff. Well, speaking of which, kind of talk to me a little bit about, for people that are watching and kind of want to learn more about what you're doing and what you're up to. Where can they go? Obviously on Instagram, but talk a little bit about what you're doing and where people can learn more.
Yeah, so my Instagram is at Martin Feast. Everything is there. I show you how to get lean by doing nothing. I have IGTV. I have if you click the link in the bio, I have a website. I give you all my best advice for free. But if you're willing to get to the next level, I have a course. It's called What's for Dinner. It's how to get lean by doing nothing. So I give you an exact plan in there, a 21-day plan. We go over every way of eating, meal plans. By plan, I mean what to order at Chipotle.
Oh,
And then workouts that I do, and like research on fasting, and that my course is on sale actually right now for the lowest price ever. So it's there on my Instagram. Shoot me a message if you want to just say hello. Shoot me a message. We'll get in touch. And I also offer coaching if you want to get serious about if you want someone to hold you accountable. If you just want free advice, go to my Instagram. It's all there. It's more than enough to get started. More than enough actionable tips. Like I said, thanks for having me. Shoot me a message, and I love to hear from you guys.
No, good stuff. And I'll be sure to link all that stuff in the description below this video as well, to his website and all that stuff in the description below this video. But hey, thank you so much. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate you coming on and talking with us today. Talking with me. I know I've really enjoyed it. And again, I love what you're doing, and I love the fact that, it's realistic, and, that's the goal. So I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
All right. Hey, thank you very much. If you've enjoyed this video and are interested in seeing some more, I'm going to leave some videos on the screen now. I encourage you to check those out. And remember, we're not looking to lose weight fast. We're looking to lose weight forever. Thanks again, and we'll catch you in the next video.